What if your snake plants could whisper to you what's wrong with them? Well, they can, and in this video, we'll talk about the issues that plague snake plants, how they give you signs, and most importantly, what you can do to make sure your snake plants stay healthy, and how to get it back to the thriving houseplant it once was if it's struggling right now. Stay with me until the end. The last tip will help you make more of them so you never have enough. So let's get right into it. Okay, so we'll start by talking about yellow or browning leaves you might see on your snake plant, because these symptoms can be indicators of underlying issues. If you see an older leaf changing color, then it might not be a problem. It just might be a leaf that's run its course and making room for the new ones. But if you see younger leaves or a lot of older leaves yellowing or browning, then it might be a sign the plant is giving us. And the primary cause of yellow or browning leaves in a snake plant typically revolve around issues related to moisture and light. Overwatering is a common mistake we all make, as snake plants prefer to dry out between waterings, and the excess moisture can lead to root rot, which then leads to yellowing or browning of the leaves. But at the same time, underwatering can also result in these symptoms, as the plant may not be sufficiently hydrated. What I do to water my snake plants is that I wait until the soil is completely dry, and even then sometimes I wait a week longer before watering them. This helps them keep the right balance of moisture in the soil. Also, insufficient lighting is something else that can lead to yellow or browning leaves. It's well known that snake plants are very adaptable to lower lighting conditions. But let's get one thing straight, they do better in higher lighting. So if you start to notice the leaves are turning yellow or browning, and you suspect it might be a lighting issue, then I recommend you slowly acclimate them to higher lighting conditions by either moving them closer to the source, or if you need to, supplement the lighting with grow lights. Soft or mushy leaves is another symptom you might start to notice on your snake plant. When you do, it's best to act quickly and make the necessary changes. When we see the symptom, it often indicates, again, overwatering or even the presence of root rot, which can threaten the overall health and vitality of your snake plant. Overwatering is probably one of the main reasons many new plant parents end up killing their snake plants. When the soil is consistently too moist, the roots can suffocate due to lack of oxygen, and/or the plants may get a fungal infection that leads to root rot. And as the roots deteriorate, they can no longer efficiently supply nutrients and water to the leaves, causing them to become soft and mushy. To fix this problem, start by examining the plant's roots. If you find brown, mushy, and foul-smelling roots, it's a clear sign of root rot. To salvage the snake plant, remove the soil, trim away the affected roots. You can then spray the roots down with hydrogen peroxide and then repot your plant into a fresh, well-draining soil mix. As you move forward, you'll want to adjust your watering habits to make sure you don't run into the situation again. Also, mushy leaves could come about because of these round blemishes caused by disease. If you see them when purchasing a plant, avoid the plant altogether. This next symptom, most plant parents don't see as often on snake plants, but it can happen, and that's wrinkled or shrinking leaves. When you see this, it usually means that your plant's not receiving enough water to maintain its tough, turgid shape that it's known for. If you notice your snake plant's leaves wrinkling or shrinking, it's likely thirsty, and usually by adjusting your watering schedule and making sure you water thoroughly when all the soil in the pot is 100% dry, your plant will survive, and if it's only slightly wrinkled, those leaves will bounce back. Now, I said usually this will be a quick fix, but you might also see wrinkled or shrinking leaves if your plant's root bound. To make sure, I recommend you check the root health of your snake plant. Just pop your plant out of the pot, and as long as the roots are not circling, you're okay. But if they are, then I recommend you repot your plant with fresh, well-draining soil to a slightly larger pot and break up the root ball a little bit before you do. As I'm sure you've noticed, snake plants are known for their tall, sturdy, and upright leaves, which is what makes them different and stand out when compared to other houseplants. But when these once upright leaves begin to droop or bend, the plant is telling us something, and in most cases, it can be one of two things. And the first is overwatering, which is the most common reason that the leaves droop. The thick, firm leaves of a snake plant allow them to hold a lot of water, allowing them to endure periods of neglect. When excess water is supplied, it can again lead to root rot, causing damage to the plant's roots, resulting in the bending of the leaves. The way you fix this, like I said before, is simple. Adjust your watering schedule to allow the soil to dry out for several days between waterings, or make the necessary changes if you need better drainage to the pot or the soil mix. And if root rot has already set in, then treat the plant for root rot. And just remember that snake plants prefer underwatering to overwatering. And the second reason your leaves could start drooping is that they're not receiving sufficient light. You'll first start to see the leaves growing thinner than they usually do and stretching out. This is a way of them letting you know that they're stressed, so it's best to slowly increase the amount of light they're receiving. Leaf splitting and cracking is another symptom you might notice when you're caring for your snake plant. And this cracking can occur for a lot of reasons, some of them being low humidity, high humidity, over-fertilization, exposure to excessive sunlight, and sudden fluctuations in temperature. I know it's a lot to take in and figure out which one's causing the cracks, but the best we can do in this situation is to see which of these environmental factors is out of line and make the necessary changes. And a lot of times it's just physical injury from getting knocked around during transit, at the store, or maybe a pet consistently knocking it over. In some cases, there's not much we can do but live with them and enjoy them as they are. If they're getting the cracks and there is something we can do about it, then we just need to adjust our plant's care routine based off of what we think is causing the cracks. Now, sometimes our plant may just be growing along, and after a few months we notice that we're not seeing any new leaves and the plant's growth has just stopped. When this happens, there's a couple things that may be happening. And one of the most common reasons for stunted growth is that our plant is root bound. Over time, a snake plant can become root bound in its pot, maybe about every 2 years, and this restricts the plant's ability to take in water and nutrients, which in turn slows down its growth. To fix this, as I mentioned before, consider repotting the snake plant into a slightly larger container with fresh, well-draining soil. And as I just mentioned, insufficient lighting can stretch out your snake plant, but it can also cause the growth of your plant to be stunted. And you probably picked up on this by now, but snake plants don't like excessive water, as it can lead to a whole bunch of issues and stunted growth. So if you've been consistently overwatering your snake plant, the reason your plant may not be growing could be due to root rot. Now, maybe you're starting to see brown leaf tips on your snake plant, and there are a couple reasons you might be seeing this. And the first is over-fertilization. Make sure you're following a fertilization schedule and not overfeeding your snake plant. The way I do it is that I fertilize my snake plants every other watering, which is usually about every 2 months. I'm in Florida, so for the most part, they're growing year-round. But if you live in a climate where they slow down during the cooler months, then I recommend you not fertilize them during these times and pick it back up during the warmer months. Brown leaf tips can also result from the accumulation of salts in the soil because of excessive fertilizer or using tap water to water your plant. To fix this, occasionally leach the soil by thoroughly watering the plant until water drains from the bottom of the pot, flushing out excess salts and minerals. And if you can, try to use RO, distilled, or rainwater to water your plants to prevent it from happening or continuing to happen. Pest or insect infestations on a snake plant or any plant can be a real pain. And even though snake plants are generally hardy and resistant to most pests, they're not entirely immune. Some of the common pests that can affect them are mealybugs, spider mites, aphids, and even scale. To fight off these infestations, a proactive approach will give you the best result. I recommend you routinely inspect your snake plant for signs of pests, such as webs, visible insects, or sticky residue. And really the best time to do this, so you're on a schedule, is when you water them, since you're there already looking at your plants. And usually if you act quickly by placing the affected plant in quarantine at the first sight of them, you can usually get by using natural remedies like neem oil or a mixture of water and Castile soap to control the infestation. Now, as long as you follow the steps we're covering in this video, for the most part, snake plants are generally easy plants to care for. But when it comes to propagation, they can be a little bit finicky, so understanding the reasons behind slow or unsuccessful propagation is going to help you to achieve better results. One of the common causes of slow or even no propagation that a lot of propagators don't think about is the use of unhealthy or immature leaf cuttings. To improve your chances of success, look for leaves that are healthy and mature, but not too old when propagating. Also, inadequate moisture levels are another factor that can affect propagation before and after you propagate. A couple days before I propagate my snake plants, I like to thoroughly water my plant so that the leaves are well hydrated going into propagation. And once they're propagated, depending on whether I'm propagating by soil or water, make sure the soil stays humid but drains well, and if in water, then make sure the cuttings are always sitting in the water. But this is only the beginning when it comes to propagation of snake plants. The rest of the information you need to successfully propagate snake plants is in this video here, so enjoy it and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos.